Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if you are a new subscriber or a new viewer. My name is Kyle. At the time of recording and releasing this video, The Mummy will be celebrating its 25th anniversary this week. And they also did a theatrical re-release of the movie, which I was lucky enough to go see last week. Now I'm sure if you clicked on this video, you've already seen The Mummy, but for those of you that don't or need a refresher, an ancient priest by the name of Imhotep, who is one of the best villains by the way, has an affair with the pharaoh's mistress, and as a result of killing the pharaoh, he is subsequently cursed to a form of living death, so to speak. And nearly 3,000 years later, a group of raiders and archaeologists happen to resurrect the creature, and they must stop him before he takes over the world. The Mummy came out in 1999, a great year for movies, and the year I was born in. I saw this when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I can't quite remember, but I knew when I saw it. The movie was relatively new at the time, but I loved it. I thought it was a terrific action-adventure movie, and it was a film that also scared me, as I'm sure it did for a lot of other kids that were my age when we saw it. Now, there's a popular saying that goes around, which is, why don't they make them like they used to anymore? And this is one of the movies that we all point to and say, why don't they make movies like The Mummy anymore? Why don't we see them anymore? Like, what is it about this movie that just has yet to be replicated? And when I was rewatching it on the big screen, I was really trying to think, what are the things in this movie that just are not present in modern day movies, or most modern day movies? And I was able to isolate it to 3 specific things that I believe if more studios were to try to incorporate these 3 things, you would actually be seeing the blockbusters that we used to see and we love. Number 1, and I personally believe this is my number 1, is the musical score. Not the soundtrack. I'm talking about the actual orchestral score composed by the late, great Jerry Goldsmith. Now, if you're watching up until this point and you do not know who that is, you have homework to do. He is one of the great composers of our time. He composed the original Planet of the Apes. He also composed Alien, which that movie is also celebrating an anniversary this year. The Mummy is definitely one of his best works. I love the compositions here. And I feel the scene that really sticks in my mind that I wanted to talk about was when Evie is about to be stabbed by Imhotep. I think it's great because the music surrounding it is very atmospheric and very tension-filled. We know the motivation of the villain, we know exactly what he plans to do, and Evie is going to be his sacrifice. And as that's happening, Rick and Jonathan find the Book of Amun-Ra, which is the Golden Book of the Living, and there's a moment where the score breaks and Jonathan in the background goes, "I found the book, I found it!" And Imhotep goes, "The Book of Amun-Ra!" And he takes the key that's required to open the book, he puts it in his robes. So we as the audience know that they have to get the key to open the book because that's how it will kill him. And the key is in his robes. And Jonathan, as the pickpocket, we know that he's going to eventually get the key. In the background, Rick grabs the sword. He's about to jump in and save Evie. So we as the audience know what's going to happen over the next couple of minutes. But at the forefront of all of that is the building score that just leaps into action as Rick does. It is such a great moment. And while some of the CGI in the scene is a bit dated, that musical score just keeps the energy going for the entirety of the climax. Most, if not all, of modern day blockbusters look at a musical score as an afterthought. But I actually think that a great orchestral musical score really aids a film. You can listen to Goldsmith's score and picture every scene in your mind accompanying the score. The score makes you want to rewatch the movie, and the movie makes you want to listen to the music, so it works together in harmony. Number 2 is likable characters. I cannot tell you how many movies I've seen today, specifically horror movies, where the characters that are written are some of the most unlikable, insensitive little bastards ever put up on the silver screen. I hate them so much that I find myself rooting for the killer. That should never happen in a horror movie. What I find so fascinating is that the characters in this movie are thieves, lowlifes, scumbags, and yet they're all likable. I don't find myself hating the characters to the point where I want to see their demise. Even for a sniveling little weasel like Benny. I think the performance by Kevin J. O'Connor definitely helps, and I think he's really cool. But you understand his plight, especially when he runs into Imhotep, and he's trying his best to communicate with him because he doesn't want to die. We'd all be terrified if we bumped into a mummy that has been resurrected. And he's able to communicate, and that's what saves his life. And upon this rewatch, the scariest scene in the movie to me was his death scene. All the stone doors close, so he can't get out that way. The roof begins to cave in, so the light goes out, and all he's got is a torch. And this little bug comes in, and he's trying to shush it away, and then all of a sudden, thousands of bugs come in circling him. And he knows, as well as we do, that the moment that that torch goes out, he is going to be the buffet of the millennium. It's just a very scary moment. It's a moment that I think is very freaky. And the chemistry between the leads, you could almost say that's like a 2.5 kind of reason. But my God, Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz, they have such terrific chemistry throughout the entire movie. You like these characters and you want to see them succeed. And that final kiss, the audience was cheering their asses off. So again, it's proof that great chemistry goes a long way. And number 3 is its self-awareness. Now, I'm sure that I'm not the only person who has said this, but there is literally a moment in the film where Rick approaches the airman Winston and says this:
"Rescue the damsel in distress, kill the bad guy, and save the world."
This movie's tongue is planted firmly in its cheek. We know exactly what we're here for. We know what the climax is going to be, but it's fun and very engaging. And that sand scene, I mean, it's not a review of this movie without talking about it. It's still a really fun scene. I think the CG in it has held up pretty well. I also love the moment where Evie threatens Benny.
"You know, nasty little fellows such as yourself always get their comeuppance."
They do?
Oh, yes. Always.
I don't know what it is, but I just love the way that Rachel says the word always.
Always.
Now look, the movie's not bulletproof, it's not perfect, it's got its little issues here and there. Some of the CG, as I said before, has not held up well over time. But for me, the dumbest thing in the movie is the fact that they cursed this guy with something that was so feared they never did it to anybody. And it's like, well, why do it to him? Why not just behead him and just get it over with? But yeah, the movie has to movie, so they have to curse him with that. However, if he is to be resurrected, he would essentially become a supervillain with the power to drain other people of their bodily fluids and unleash plagues and then take over the world with his immortality. And it's like, that is so dumb. That is so monumentally stupid. I think what makes any movie one of your favorites is if it's a movie where it might not be perfect, but it's a film that you could sit and watch at any point and have a great time and you never get tired of it. I have never gotten bored or tired of this movie. It constantly remains a fun thrill ride with some great horror moments, great suspense, the comedy is great, the character interactions are fantastic, the romantic subplot is great, you really believe in the chemistry of the leads. Everything about this movie just was able to seamlessly blend together and never feel like one element is trying to overshadow the other. That's an issue that The Mummy Returns faced, and oh man, I loved that movie as a kid, but boy, has that aged poorly. I think what gives this movie lasting power is that at its core, it's a fun action-adventure movie. That can be fun for anybody of all audiences. But you also have these characters that you really like and you want to see them succeed and make it out to the end. I didn't even mention Oded Fehr. He's awesome. I love his character in this movie. And that might be the one thing that I actually liked more of the sequel, is that we got to see more of him. This movie was met with very mixed reviews when it came out, but ever since then it's gotten critical reappraisal, which it should, because the movie succeeded in what it set out to do. But what do you guys think about The Mummy? Do you think that it has aged well? Do you think it's aged poorly? Do you have a lot of fun with it? Were you a kid when you first saw it or an adult? Let me know down in the comment section below, please. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. And check out all the links to my social media pages. They are in the description box below. Please check them out. Thank you all so much as always for watching. I hope you had a great time and stay tuned.